Hello everyone, it's the 14th of April 2019 and today you can see I'm not in the garage but I'm in my shed, basically because it's far too cold outside to do any work, and in fact it feels like it's only just above freezing in that wind, but it's quite bright. And next Sunday, Easter Sunday, is supposed to be in the high 20s. So much for the English spring. So what we've been doing for the last couple of days is overhauling the injectors and other relative pipe work to the fuel system. Why do you have to do this? Well, A, because rubber deteriorates, and after 30 years it deteriorates a lot, added to which is that modern fuels have a lot of ethanol in, and that dislikes rubber very much indeed. So the new pipes should be ethanol proof, and that's going to be, the ethanol level is going to be increasing steadily over the next few years. And what happens is that I don't suppose you can see it on the camera, but inside the internal wall there, this is obviously an old one, and you see there's minute hairline cracks in the wall, and it makes the rubber go very hard indeed. As you can see here, I can hardly move that, I can hardly squash it, but this end, which was over the over that bit and didn't get any petrol in it, you see it still retains a lot of its squishiness, you might say, even though it's 30 plus years old. And here's a new piece of hose, which you can see is really quite squishy and flexible. And of course, if you don't do that, there's a good chance that these are going to burst and the fuel spread all over the engine, which is obviously not something you want on a hot engine. Otherwise you'll be you'll be the subject of Sunday dinner, I should think. So to do the job, I've got a pack from Master Injector UK of replacement parts, obviously rubber parts. Here are the new hoses for one side. These rings fit in here and hold together with this plate, hold the injector in position. Here are some ferrules which go at the bottom of the hose and on the other end as well when it goes around the fuel rail. Here we have some new plastic covers for the injectors, which I'll come to at a later point. Also included are a set of filters that go inside the down there, which obviously the last resort for filtering the fuel. And I'll come back to you later about doing that. And another supporting rubber which fits in here when the injector goes through to the manifold itself. So what do we do to start? Well, first of all, get a new hacksaw blade, a metal one, not a wooden one. And what you have to do is slide the blade down the side of what's remaining of your pipe, and you have to cut that top of that ferrule away so you can get at the bottom of the pipe and and get it out. I mean, obviously, I'll have to take my glasses off. I mean, obviously you mustn't damage this plastic piece on top of the injector, because I'm sure you don't want to have to pay over £100, probably £130 for a new injector. So, how do we do it? Well, make sure it's a new blade, of course, and it's pointing away. The side you're going to cut is away from the connector to the main loom on the opposite side, and just slide it down the pipe and saw away. And I won't talk too much while I'm doing this. I need to concentrate on it and get some light on it as well. So after a bit, you can, you've done a few, you can gain a bit more confidence. You can use a bit more force on the blade, but not too much, so much as it's going to slip and damage the injector. So just keep going, checking at regular intervals, and at the same time just angle the blade in towards the rubber a little bit. Otherwise you'll find yourself sliding down the edge. Keep going. Be careful as you're getting near the bottom. You don't want to damage that plastic. Just lever it out a wee bit. I use a screwdriver. Just like that. Okay. So you can see if you can see the bottom of the pipe there. Now what I like to do is I like to put another cut in. Somewhere about there. And I might even do one on this side as well. Watch the manifold, of course. You might want also to invest in one of these, I suppose they're hobby saws. It's a finer cut and quite sharp. And again, bend it out. those off. Nearly went too far there. However, what we need now is a sharp knife. We need to cut down the pipe. I'd do it either side, just like that, till it reaches the top of the injector inside, and then slice it down carefully so you don't damage the barbs inside, otherwise you're liable to get leaks. So when you come down towards the bottom, be very careful what you're doing, not too much force. If you can, open it out a wee bit. There we go. Cut it as far down as possible, all the way if you can. Of course, be very, very careful. There we go. So we've got one side out. It's a bit of a struggle sometimes to get it out, but you can. And there it is. And of course your ferrule just lifts out. Get clean. Made a bit of a saw mark there. To my carelessness. So anyway, we'll have to undo these nuts. And to do that, I'm using a 10mm spanner. Sorry, an 11mm spanner. What is it? I didn't quite tight, of course, as they should be, but not too tight. Otherwise we'll strip the aluminium casting. There we go. I'm afraid you're liable to get bruised knuckles on doing this because of the studs there. That's part and parcel of doing this kind of thing. Of course, there's a spring washer underneath. Of course, I've got a magnetic steel tray there. Just put them in that so they don't go anywhere. You will. Carefully lift the plate out. Remember, you can see there's a recess there and that goes in over the electrical input into these. Now what you do now is just lift the injector out, and it should come out quite cleanly, as indeed it does, but you see there's oil been getting in there. It's not as bad as some of them. You also see there's a bit of rust, surface rust down the edge there, and that also has to be cleaned off with a wire brush, something like that. Now you need to get that rubber ring out, and I rather brutally use a screwdriver to hook over it. I actually got a set of hooks in the garage, I can't bother going and getting them. But I found using a screwdriver, a thin screwdriver, to be just as effective. You might want to use some lubrication as that comes over, but I don't think you probably don't know. Okay, there's your old ring, and there's the metal casing that holds it in position, and there we have the injector out. I'll take it over to the other bench. Now all I'm going to do now really is just clean it up, and should do that before you take out any of the filter or take the plastic cover off, and then we'll come back to getting the filter out and getting the plastic cover off the bottom of the injector. Okay, see you in a few minutes. Now, to give you a clearer indication of what I've been doing, I've inserted some stills of the job, and you can see here that I cut the hose in half when it was still on the car. Some people don't. They take the fuel rail out complete with the injectors, and I'm not so sure that's a proper way of doing it really, or the best way of doing it I should say, in that leaving the injectors in the manifold gives you a much firmer base to work on. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Now you can see here in this next shot I've started cutting the ferrule down a wee bit with the junior hacksaw, and it really should be a new blade, metal cutting blade that is, not a woodworking one, and carefully cut the part of the ferrule away. But it's fairly essential that you angle the blade inward towards the hose a wee bit, just to give you an angle. And the other thing is obviously not to use too much pressure, especially when you're approaching the bottom. Now you can see in this next image I've cut part of the ferrule away so I can get proper access to the bottom of the hose. I also used this small craft saw to cut the ferrule away to give me a finer cut and closer in cut, to be honest. But you have to be very careful when using them. They are very sharp indeed, and you can cause a fair amount of damage if you're not careful. Actually, I found the best way of removing what was left of the hose was to get a very sharp knife and slice it across the top till the bottom of the blade touches the top of the injector. That of course gives you two halves and allows you to split the hose, but it's best to split it all the way down to the bottom on one side if you can, and that allows you to pull it apart and it will come away then, as can be seen in this next image. But it is important of course that you cut the hose right the way down to the bottom, but of course be very careful you don't damage the plastic. Then it's fairly easy to part the two halves, and it should just lift out after that. Now you can see in this next image that the air hose has been fully removed, and it gives you a view of the top of the injector. You can see there that there's a slight bit of rust there which needs to be cleaned off, and those sharp edges should not be or must not be damaged in any way, so you have to be careful when cutting the hoses off or you'll get leaks. And now you can see in this final image I'm just removing the large rubber ring that helps hold the injector in position. And it's a rather crude way of doing it, I know, but I just used a long thin screwdriver and worked my way up to the top of it and levered it down, and it came away very easily indeed. I know it's not for the purist, but well, there we are, it works, it didn't cause any damage. Now the next episode of this strip down of the injectors will include me replacing the filter and cleaning up the injector themselves, and how I did it and what tools I used to do it, which I'll upload as soon as possible. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next few days.